Hey, I'm talking here, and nobody's listening. I'll tell you, I get no respect. Even the other day, I told my son to take out the garbage. He said, you married her, you take her out. Hey, I don't get any respect either. Excuse me, folks, I gotta find out what's wrong with my camera. Okay, presto. I still look blurry. I don't know what's going on. Anyway, hi, folks. How are you? Welcome to Hey, I'm Talking here. I am Steve Rizzo. I am your host. And today we have a really good show, as we always do. This is about embracing change. That means any change that you may be going through in your life. And I don't think there's a person that I don't know that hasn't gone through some kind of change. Some people go through some drastic changes, though. And that's what we're going to be discussing, the way to handle it, the way to deal with it. And already we have Jay Skinner is on, Hall of Fame speaker. He says, I'm proud to know you. Proud to know you too, Jay. Thank you for punching in. Appreciate it. Hope all is well in your world. And let me bring on my team right now. And by the way, this show is brought to you by Conversations with Bobby. That's my book that I wrote. There you go. It's right there. And for those of you who haven't purchased it, I suggest that you do. It's getting great reviews. And by the way, some of you know this, but some of you may not. Bob is God. That's all you need to know. I'm not telling you anymore. If you want to know more, you have to read the book. That's all I'm saying. But let me bring up my team right now. My director, my producer, Bruce, show yourself. What up?
I'm showing. Okay, there you go. Oops.
What up, dude?
I'm going to rearrange my background. Oh, and then new award there.
There you go. Cool.
So, so we're actually streaming to a brand new place today. We're streaming to my Facebook page. So hello to my fans here on BSVP TV on my Facebook, as well as to the normal places, which is your Facebook, your LinkedIn, and your YouTube. Oh, and Debbie, we're also streaming to Debbie Bettendorf's Facebook pages and LinkedIn.
Oh, cool. Wait a minute. Eric is whining because he wants to know what happened to his intro. So I have to say, and let's have a big round of applause for one of my favorite people who was so dedicated, and he's such a great guy, my friend Eric. There he is. There he is. There's your intro, Eric. You feel better now? Because I wouldn't want to do anything to upset you at all.
Yes, I don't know why you are blurry, because at first I thought it was me.
I don't understand why this happened. What should I pull the thing out and then pull it back in again?
Maybe wipe the camera with your lens, with your finger. Just kind of wipe it, and as opposed to just holding it. Actually touch it. Yeah, there you go.
Really?
There you go. Is that any better?
Yeah, maybe a little.
No, you're still blurry.
What if I do this?
Oh, that was you're there good for a second. You're good.
That's better. No,
it isn't.
No, it's not.
Get close to the camera. Get real close. There you go. That's better.
Well, it did get better.
See, I told you.
You're a genius.
I know.
Hey, now I can see my good-looking face. I'll tell you, I get no respect. Yeah. Hey, let's bring up. What's her name again? What's her name?
What's her name? What's her name? And who's Bob? We got a lot of who's who on here.
Hi, Deb. How are you?
We didn't even coordinate our attire tonight. That we're all wearing black.
Yeah, and I actually put this up here, my name, so Steve would remember who I am.
Yeah, that's it. But first I had to find it. You get it?
There you go.
There
and he found
it. Introduce your show to the folks. When your show is on?
Yeah, Wednesday nights at 8 p.m. Eastern. We do Find It, and it's all about finding something that we're seeking. And I have a guest on who can, every week it's someone different, who talks about what they have found in life to inspire us to find it too. Come and see me.
And subscribe and get notifications. So when it does go live, you get notified an hour after it's over.
Yeah, usually.
Yeah.
Then you can watch it on #replay.
That's the way it works. Hey, that's what
I'm so glad that you made a change and I can see your face. You were really blurry there for a minute.
I really was. And I was saying, okay, I just went to the eye doctor. I hope he didn't screw something up. Like, you know, when you go to the eye doctor and they squirt that stuff in your eye, and then they say, well, you know, you can go home now, but you can't see. Your eyes are actually, because the stuff cakes in your eyes. and then they tell you you definitely have to wear sunglasses because it's very sensitive to light.
Right.
I had to sit in my car for like 45 minutes to an hour before I can drive anywhere. Otherwise, I would have been like Mr. Magoo. Oh, I can't. Looks like I can't say a damn thing. Oh,
Oh, we're
I
getting
know.
all kinds of
I know.
imitations, impressions.
Yeah. So was a perfect match is the way she looked and the way he sees. They're a perfect match.
I love it. I've never actually had that done to my eyes, but I know people tell me you get that in your eyes and then it's like awful. And then they do send you home and you're like, hello.
You should always ask them before you get it done. And because when they tell you what they're going to do, they downplay it. They said you might have a little bit of a problem for an hour or two. You know, they should tell you before you go to the appointment, make sure you're with someone because you might not be able to drive home. So,
Yeah, they always tell. Actually, I always do that, no matter
Yeah.
what.
You always have someone with you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Not me. I
Because
decided.
yeah, even though my car can drive me home by itself, but still, it's better to have a person in the car.
Well, I only hit 3 people, so it wasn't a big deal.
I just clipped a couple. No worries.
Considering how many were crossing. Yeah.
They're
It was
okay. Just a
no
little.
big deal at all.
Yeah.
So anyway, we welcome your feedback, folks. If anyone has any comments,
We
that
got
would be-
one right here. One comic.
so Steve could find it.
Yes. Yes. We're all trying to find something. He's trying to figure out my name tonight.
Eric, I love you, but let's get something straight, pal. I tell the jokes, all right?
Oh my gosh. I love it.
Yeah, it's really. So anyway, what do you think about today's topic, gang?
I'm telling you, embrace change. Change. Did someone say change? Does that include menopause? Just
Exactly. I remember when my mom went through her changes. I remember that.
yeah.
Because all of a sudden we could be in a supermarket where it's freezing and she went into this parrot syndrome. It's hot in here. Are you hot? Right. I'm hot. Right. I'm hot. Are you hot? I'm hot. Right. And my father tried so hard to be patient. One time we were in the middle of shopping and I was holding the cart and my mom and dad were arguing about it. And he looks and he goes, look, I understand you're going through your changes. I get it. And I'm trying to be patient. And he looks at his watch. He goes, you got 10 minutes. Start changing.
Presto. I wish it was like that.
I know. Yeah,
watch,
really.
watch me pull a new lady out of my hat. You've changed. Oh, God.
Don't just accept change, embrace it. Steve Rizzo.
Who said that? The old Steve Rizzo. Don't just accept change.
Well, you know, I thought of that because a couple of years ago, a major corporate company, wanted me to speak to their group because they're going through some major changes. And he wanted me to express to them how important it is to accept change. And I thought about it and I'm going, no, there's a negative connotation to that phrase. And that's what management does in a lot of these corporate places. They say, look, these are the changes that are taking place. Just think about it and accept it. Of course, you have to accept it. But in the minds of a lot of those people, they're saying, all right, I'll accept it, but I'm not going to like this.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I'll accept it, but why are you doing this? Okay, I'll accept this, but this is going to be very difficult for me to do. And none of those statements, that negative self-talk that they're saying, is not conducive to being creative or productive or to find the good that's within the change, because you've already created the mindset.
Yeah.
And it's the way that they approach them all the time with, you know, this is what has to be done. You just don't get it. So I decided to tell the client to say, don't start laughing.
He's changing it up. That's all.
I know. I thought I was having flashbacks from the 60s. I thought, you know, all the drugs I did started playing with me. Hey, how did I get over here when I was over there by my, there you go again. No. So I came up with embrace change. And what I mean when I say embrace change, you're going through it knowing, as difficult as it may seem, you know without a doubt that some good will come out of even the most challenging situation. And that's looking at it from a totally different perspective.
Right. And change, the word change makes people cringe. A lot of people.
Yeah.
I mean, you know, change, and depending on what area of your life the change is occurring. And like you mentioned, which is brilliant, in work. When people know I do it this way, I have a system, I come in, I do my job, I leave. And then all of a sudden the company's changing the rules up and I have to learn something new. I don't want to learn anything new. I'm done learning. I want to
Yep.
do it the way I've always done.
Yep.
And that change makes people literally mind blown and disgruntled. So
Well, yeah.
that's
Yeah.
a great point.
Because people get stuck in their comfort zone.
Yep.
And there's so many different types of changes. Somebody has a really bad eating habit, and the doctor says this is what you have to do.
Yeah.
That person has to change their life, and it's very difficult because it's a habit that's ingrained, and habits are addicting. And
I
you
just
have to
saw
change. What's that?
Ken Walls like changing from an old phone to an iPhone. This
I
has
heard
been
that
a
story.
whole thing. It's been a whole thing. Yeah, even that, Ken, though, even though I'm laughing and it's funny, I was disgruntled. I did not want to get an iPhone, but this new platform I'm getting ready to use for my new business encourages you to. Plus, I've been hearing it from this guy, Ken Walls. My gosh, he's like, get an iPhone. Drink the Kool-Aid. And I finally did it, and I had to call him last night right before my show because I have a Mac computer, and every time someone would call me, it was going on my screen. It was bumping me off, and I was like, oh my God, how do I fix it? Hurry, I'm getting ready to go live. So yeah, thanks, Ken. That was a nice change.
That was the great Ken Walls that made that appearance right there, and we all love Ken.
Yeah.
Tim Gillette.
Tim Gillette says, but when the company is making a change, it is to stay in business. As an employee, it sucks, but thankfully they don't have to change jobs. Ooh, good point.
Well, that's a great point, Tim. But sometimes people do have to change jobs. Their job descriptions change. And sometimes if they want to keep the job, they have to move. I mean, I've spoken for quite a few, Fortune 100, 500 companies. It doesn't happen often, but man, there were times when they were going through some really intense stuff. We want you to stay, but you're going to have to move to this part of the country. We want you to stay, but this is what your job description is going to change. We want you to stay, but you're going to get paid the same, but you're going to have to do more, And
wow, how do you embrace that when they're saying you need to move clear across the country? Well, you either embrace it and do it, or you just have to embrace a new place to work.
Yes, you have to. Yeah, that's another thing. What you have to do is you have to sit back and figure out what your options are, and always talk it out with your family. Your significant other, whoever it is. Never keep it in yourself, because when you talk about it, that's when options start coming into play, and you start realizing it may not be as intense as you thought it was going to be. Hey, we all went through changes. Bruce, I'm sure you've embraced the change of telling them to piss off.
I can hear him saying that in my head. Can you?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, but that's really easy if you're the only person in your business. So, so you're the chief cook and bottle washer, and so you're just basically, unless you get a little not paranoid, but schizophrenic. It's like talking to yourself. No, I didn't say anything. What did you say? I'm not talking to you anymore. Okay.
Well, change will come into your life in two ways: by choice or by circumstances beyond your control. And either way, no matter what it is, you have to do more than just accept change. Embracing it is giving you options. There's got to be something better. And sometimes you're the one that's making the decision, and it can be pretty scary and quite painful. When I made the transition from stand-up comedy, which I was very successful in, and I wanted to become a speaker, that was a major change. And it took years. It took years to gradually weave into this. It's not that I left it. I was still doing stand-up while I was speaking, and it just so happens the speaking gigs started pouring in more and more, and I eventually had to let go totally of the comedy thing. And even though I did it and I knew it was the right thing, for a couple of years I still had my doubts when I was watching.
Yeah, but you've been doing TED Talks with humor, and so you didn't leave comedy behind you. You took comedy with you to your next.
No, you're right. That's a good point. I didn't leave it. It just took on another facet of my life. It went in a different direction. That's all. I just had a message. Like if you're doing stand-up, if you're hitting people with a message for a period of time, they're going to get pissed off at you. They're going to say, we didn't come here to hear this. We want to hear a comedy. But when I speak and you're really funny, the comedy part is very, very welcomed, because the attention span of the average audience today is very minimal. Very minimal. Everyone knows that. And unless a speaker has some kind of entertaining value, you run the risk of losing their attention. So that's where my comedy comes into play. But the point that I was making, Bruce and Debbie, is that, I made it and I was satisfied with it. But every now and then I'm watching TV or I'm watching a movie, and my opening acts, these major stars today, I'm watching them. And every now and then I thought, gee, I wonder what would happen if I would have stayed. Would I have been doing this? And you just get to the point where you realize you're doing the right thing. And even if it was a mistake, it was still your decision. You learn from it and you make the best of what you have. That's what life is all about. It's about dealing what you have and making it the best thing that you can. And you never know what can happen as a result as time goes by.
Yeah. And, I think sometimes when you make a big change like that in your life, there's a part of you that mourns the loss of what could have been or what you used to be or do.
Yeah.
But then we all have to accept and embrace the changes that you're making and be in the moment and appreciate who you are and what you're doing now as much as possible. I mean, we're human. You just like you said, you're a professional of understanding mindset, and you stand on stages all across the world, but you also admit I'm human. There are times I look and think, wow, that could be me. But then that's a thought that you accept and acknowledge, and then you let it go and live in the moment.
Yeah, that's a good point. The key is to allow that part of yourself to express yourself instead of hiding it and saying, don't go there, don't go there. No, go there, let it out and see what happens. Because once you release it, it dissolves a lot faster, a whole lot faster.
Yeah, see, I don't think I've changed at all in the past 30 years, but I've embraced the change around me. I've embraced the internet. I've embraced the iPhone. I embraced streaming. And when I first got in the business, it was VHS tapes and wired microphones. And now it's basically live streaming from your computer with your iPhone.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but that's changed though, Bruce. And you adapted to that. You learned that. You studied that. You got into that. So that is changed too. Some people like myself has a very, as Debbie will attest to that, has a very tough time with the technology, with social media. I do what I have to do, and then I get everybody else to do it for me.
Now, wait, this is a good point that we're bringing up, because while Bruce enjoys technology and he likes to change with the times and learn the new things and all like that, and that's a decision that he's making. Steve, you also are fine with making changes and bettering yourself, but technology isn't your jam. So you don't want to waste your time that you enjoy living trying to learn these things that you really just hire someone else to do it. That's why Bruce is in the house, right?
Technology isn't my jam.
Yeah, it's not your jam. It's not your jam. It's not it's not making you feel good. So you don't do it.
I mean, as a keynote speaker, you walk up on stage, they mic you up, and you just deliver your content. You don't have to worry about what goes on behind the scenes.
No, absolutely. And by the way, wait, we got to read what Ken Wall said here.
Oh, no.
Get that up. Speaking of stand-up. Read it, Deb.
Speaking of stand-up, when I first met Steve, I said, aren't you going to stand up? He said, I am, you a-hole.
That was the Yellow Brick Road.
Oh, that's great. Wait, this is so funny. Jamie Green. Hello, you three. Oh, Jamie. She's the sweetest thing. Hi, Jamie. Yeah, I'm laughing my A off too. You are so funny.
Yeah, there's a thing called payback, Ken. Remember that.
Yeah. Oh, goodness.
I'm just saying.
When I continue to call him for information on how to use my new phone, he's going to be.
So, Jamie, actually, I'm going to see them in Chicago. Where are you?
Oh, you got tickets to see Jim Gaffigan and Jerry Seinfeld. Good for you.
Yeah.
What's wrong with you? I like Jerry Seinfeld. You're crazy. Kramer, stop that.
Oh, it's awesome. That's so good. Oh, that's fun, Jamie.
See, and speaking of laughter, that is a key strategy to deal with any kind of change. You guys know that I met Christopher Reeve, the guy that played Superman in the 80s. And,
Yeah.
he was paralyzed from the neck down.
Hmm.
And that constitutes a major change in someone's life. He even said to his wife, I don't want to live anymore. So just let the respirator, pull the plug out of the respirator and let me go. I'll be a burden to people. And she said no. And he gave it a couple of days. And if you read his book, Nothing's Impossible. And seriously, this constitutes a major change in someone's life. The guy, ironically, was playing Superman.
I know.
His career is skyrocketing. I mean, the whole industry was after him. And then all of a sudden, he's on horseback riding competition. The horse throws him and he's paralyzed from the neck down. The only parts of his body that he could move were his eyes, his eyebrows, and his mouth. And he decided, when he saw his children with his wife together looking at him, he realized that they needed him. And that was that first burst of gratitude that he had that propelled him to embrace this change that took place. And he decided to give it a go. And he found other things that he can do and something else that he can do. But if you read his book, Nothing's Impossible, it's a great book. He says in there, one of the things that helped him to embrace this change was his sense of humor. The chapter in that book is called Humor. It's the longest chapter in the book, where he states that humor, more than anything, helped him to bounce back and helped him to feel normal. And it was the family cracking jokes about him when he tried to sit at the dinner table and he would hit the table and the glasses would go all over the place. That's what enabled him to do what he did in the last 9 years of his life in that condition. So if you're going through a change, don't ever lose your sense of humor, because I can give you tons of stories on how people use that to bounce back when they feel that life is consuming them because of the change. And divorce is the same thing,
Yeah. What was the same thing? Repeat that.
Divorce, people going through a divorce.
Yeah. 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 It changes your whole life and almost your identity, because when you're married for a long time, like you were, Steve, and you break off that, then it's like half of you almost after all those years. And it's a change that you have to embrace, like you said.
And you got to go through it with an optimistic attitude, knowing that even that part of your life might be gone or different. It's amazing what happens when you give it a chance, and all of the new horizons that start taking place and all the new people that come into your life. And that's all about embracing change, but it's up to you to give it that chance.
And then you can finally eat what you want to eat and not have to worry about what the other person wants to eat.
Bruce is contemplating right now. Maybe I want to leave.
Because every night when we plan our meals, it's usually like, okay, let's, what do you feel like having? And you ask someone else what they feel like having.
Yeah.
And whenever my wife is on a business trip, then I'm home alone. It's like, okay, what do I want to have tonight? And I'll just pick something out of the blue. Like either something that she'll never eat, that she doesn't like, or something that I haven't had her for a while.
Or something that she would try to sway you not to eat.
There you go.
She's gone, and now I can eat what I want to eat.
I can finish up that carton of ice cream or something.
Yeah, I get that. I get it. Yeah,
so for dinner.
So we have a tendency, it's part of the human condition, I think, to make life more difficult than it has to be. And it's all about how you identify with the change that's taken place, how you perceive it. It's that old saying that we've said so many times on the show. It's not what happens to you. It really is about what you do about what happens. It's the choices you make. It's the thoughts you have about it that make the difference. Some people flip out at the slightest change that takes place. They view their challenges. It's that inner dialogue that adds to the problem, that woe is me story that they automatically ramble on about. I knew this is going to happen. Every time I'm happy and doing something, something has to come around and take it away from me. Everybody else has what I want. Things are always taken away. I'm going 2 steps up and 3 steps back. And man, it's going to be very difficult. You see, some people call that self-curse talk. Negative self-talk. I call it self-curse talk because you're casting a spell on your life.
Well, you know what? When you said earlier that a lot of the changes that happen in your life are out of your control. probably most of them are out of your control. So when you accept that it's out of your control and you're still trying to control the change and not accepting it, then that's going to be so much more difficult on you than just to say, I know I can't change this. Acknowledge it
That's
and
a
then say, so let's go with it and try to make the best of it. And
that's
I'm going to be completely transparent. I have always thought, oh, I can do this and this has to go like this and this has to, for years. And I started recognizing, oh, I'm so large and in charge right here. I started recognizing that I was doing that. And so when I say to you, recognize it, it seems like it's such an easy thing. Like, oh, I know that I can't control this. So stop trying to and let yourself go with the flow and just embrace it, accept it, and make the best of it.
Yep.
So when I acknowledged it in my own brain, then I was like, I am doing this. I can't control this. So let's just calm down and let it happen and make the best of it.
Well, that's a incredibly great point, and it's one of the most important parts to embracing any change. Some people want to take immediate control. It's again, that's part of the human condition. But people saying, I gotta fix it, I gotta do. No, surrender. Surrendering is not giving up. Surrendering is letting a higher power, the God part of you, the Bob part of you, your authentic self, your true self. It doesn't matter what you call it, your higher self. We all have that part of us. Just say to yourself, let me try this to see what's so how can I adapt to this? What benefits will I find from this, and give it a break? And that surrender is
yes,
very powerful.
The word surrender is good. Thank you, Jamie. Thank you, Eric, for giving me a fist bump and an amen.
There's also a difference. I'm sorry. Okay, go ahead.
The only other thing I wanted to say about that is I feel like a box of chocolates when I said that. I just thought of your imitation. Are you following me, Steve? When you talk about, okay, we were just talking about Rain Man, then I thought about Forrest Gump. Anyway, that's all I have to say about that.
Well,
the only other thing I do have to say about this is this. It is a huge relief. And once you let that go and not try to control things, it's a nice break from that responsibility that you think you can control, but you really can't. And so when you let it go, it releases you from all of the work you're trying to do to get things back on track that aren't meant to be there.
Yeah.
So I just, it's your heart is lighter. You feel like a weight is lifted because you accept things and understand this is beyond my control. So I'm going to make the best of it. Yeah.
Well, not only that, I'm getting a little probably metaphysical here, but when you let go of something like that, a major change has taken place, and maybe it means that part of your body isn't functioning properly, or it's a job thing, no matter what it is, when you let go of it, serendipitous stuff starts coming into play, and you got to give it time when it does. You know, you have to be in the right state of mind when serendipity comes your way. Are you guys following me on this?
I am, because we even did a show on serendipity.
Yeah. And it happens. It happens, but it can't happen unless you are connected to that authentic part of yourself and saying, I'm going to trust this process. I'm going to see where this takes me. And when I made that, some of you may have heard the story. I don't know, but I'll make this really quick. When I left stand-up and I left my place in LA, I had two places. I was living on Long Island. I had an apartment, and my roommate was Drew Carey. And when I made that final decision to fly back home to Long Island and give up the apartment and not do stand-up anymore, I was petrified. And I remember I said a prayer. I can't hold on to this fear of change anymore. I'm letting go. And I was praying. To God. And I said, just all I'm asking is give me a sign that I'm doing the right thing. I want to become a speaker. I have no idea on how to become a speaker. I don't know who to contact. And yet I know it's something I'm supposed to do. And I was doing stand-up almost 25 years. And I let it go. And I trusted it. I got on the flight the next week. I finally left LA. I'm sitting there in first class next to this man. And he's looking at me. And I'm saying, please, I do not want him to have a conversation with me right now. And all of a sudden he goes, "Excuse me, I'm sorry, but you look familiar." And I'm saying to myself, "Shit." But I kept control because another part of me would have said, "Look, I'm sorry, I don't want to be rude, but I don't want to talk to anybody." And I didn't do that. And he goes, "You look familiar." And I said, "Well, you probably saw me on TV because my Showtime special just aired about a month before that, 3 weeks before." And he goes, "Oh, yeah, Steve Rizzo, I saw your show," and blah, blah, blah. So let me get to the point. We're talking, and he was a nice man, very distinguished. And 20 minutes goes by, and I'm silent, and he goes, "I'm sorry." He goes, "I'm sorry to bother you, Steve." He goes, "But I sense that something's wrong. Are you okay?" And I said, "It's very perceptive of you." I said, "I'm having a problem in my life right now. It's a challenge. A major change has taken place." And he goes, "Well, if you want to talk about it." I said, "Well, you know what? I want to leave stand up and I want to do something else. And this other thing that I want to do, I know nothing about it." And I said a prayer before I came here. "Just send me a sign, someone or something that can help me get into this new business." And he looks at me and goes, "Oh my God, what is it that you want to do?" And I said, "I want to be what you would call a motivational speaker." And he started laughing. And I'm thinking he's laughing at me. You're going to leave a very prestigious and very successful job as a stand-up comedian. You just had your own Showtime special, and you want to be a speaker? And I looked at him. I said, "Why are you laughing?" He said, "Well, I'm the answer to your prayer." I said, "What are you talking about?" He goes, "I am the president of the New York chapter of the National Speakers Association." That guy is the guy that introduced me to, he took me to the next National Speakers Association workshop where there were over 1,000 people, introduced me to all these people. The irony, Deb,
That's crazy.
the irony here, Bruce and Deb, these people, there I am thinking I'm going to be this newcomer and I'm starting all over. They already knew who I was. They either saw me perform at their theater or their club, or they saw me on Showtime. So I was a semi-celebrity. When I got home, after I met these very prestigious members of the board of the National, the president, everybody, and I get home and there's a message on the phone: "Steve, we were very impressed with you. We'd like to know if you'd like to come back in 6 months at the convention where they have like 3,000 people. We'd like you to give a presentation to 200 of the country's top speakers on how to add humor in their presentation."
Oh, yeah. Boom.
There I am thinking I'm starting from the beginning and it's going to take me years. I was already getting booked as a speaker and I didn't even have a presentation prepared. That's how I embraced the change. I let it go. That's my point.
You know what? And that's true. When you said that, that meant something to me. When you let go of the control and you embrace the change, it opens you up to receive all of these blessings that are waiting for you, that when you're so busy controlling something, you don't see them right there for you.
There are some people actually go out and look for change all the time. There's the early adopters who, whenever the next splashy signal comes out, they jump on it right away.
Yeah.
And others sit around for 3 or 4 years, wait for the rest of the world to catch on, and then they finally say, "Okay, well, I guess I'll have to get a cell phone because my my daughter told me to get rid of my landline."
Yeah.
Yeah,
Well, see,
exactly.
see, what you're talking about, those people that need to make a change, but they're waiting for change to happen. No, you have to be the change.
Yeah.
You have to make it.
Yeah. That's good. That's an interesting way.
Well, it's like what you're doing with your new business, Deb. You're the one that has to make the change in your life. You know, we were talking about it. You were so used to a certain way of living and a certain way, and all of a sudden this new thing came up, and it's scary because it's a new you. And all of a sudden your identity as who Debbie Bettendorf was, it's not that identity is losing itself, but another part of you is being exposed.
Yeah.
And that could be like, whoa, you know, but yet you're doing it, and because you're embracing it.
I am embracing it. And that's a good point, because I hadn't done this before and had considered it. But now you're right. Ooh.
Yeah.
Good.
Yeah. Well, that's what I do.
It's what I do, you know.
You know, I do
I
things.
get a little therapy on the side.
Yeah, so there's another thing with what, even if you're on the right track, if you stand still, you're going to get run over by the train.
Oh, yeah.
So
Yeah.
you got to keep moving
Yeah.
forward.
Yeah,
Mhm.
exactly. You got to keep moving no matter what happens. Every now and then you got to sit and reflect, but don't stay there too long. And Lori Ficken's on, and Lori said she couldn't make it, but she's there. Hi, I guess I made it. I guess you did if you were already tuning in
Oh,
here.
you made it, girl. You made it. And also, Jamie Green said what is really great, which is we can only control how we respond to a situation. We can't control the situation itself. We can only control how we respond. Yep, you're right. Smart girl.
Isn't that what you were saying, what Brian Proctor was saying?
Yes. And
What?
he also said similar to what you said earlier, Steve, which was, I didn't know what the heck I was doing, but I knew I wanted to do this. I didn't even have a presentation made yet, and I was booked to give a presentation. He always says his father raised him to believe, take action, do what you want to do and what you're called to do with passion, and don't worry about how. The how will come.
Yes, absolutely. And it'll come at the right time.
Yeah,
It'll
I
come at
mean,
the
if
right
you're
time.
open to receive it. Yeah, you gotta be
Yeah.
open to receive it and ready for it, you know? Yeah, I loved it. He was a great guest, and he's gonna be on here, and you guys
August
are
the
similar
10th.
in a lot of ways.
August
August
10th.
10th.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh,
Brian Proctor.
I hear Debbie tapping into her enter Penny Marshall. Oh my gosh, wait a minute. We're gonna do it. Is that what she's talking about?
Yeah, I
On
think
your mark,
he's
set,
talking
press,
about
go now.
what's her name?
Yeah, Laverne and Shirley.
Laverne and Shirley. Laverne and Shirley.
Oh my God, I loved them. Oh, that's a
Hello,
throwback.
Laverne.
We're gonna do it.
So we're hitting on almost so many different aspects of embrace change, and there's another one which is I don't want to bring people down, but sometimes embracing change is knowing that when it's your time to leave this planet, when it's your time, like my brother Michael, for the past couple of years, just kept doing everything he could to keep going, and he finally got to a point where again he surrendered, but it wasn't giving up. It was a surrender to the higher part of yourself, saying you've done everything you could on this planet, you've accomplished so much, and he left with peace. He really did. And that's another thing where you're listening to that God part of yourself.
But Steve, Bruce, also, you had to be ready for the change to live a life without him.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's been tough for me. As a matter of fact, the last 2 weeks ago when I was in Dallas, I was speaking for a large group, and it's the first time I told his story since he passed away, because I wasn't ready to tell it. And I didn't know if I was really ready there, but I heard my brother beckoning to me saying, this group needs to hear this. And you need to put your feelings aside right now and know that I'm listening. So you never argue with my brother. So I did it, and I went over very well.
Well, you know, the other part of this is remembering that. I have a question. Have you felt times where you're stronger about his passing, and then other times you just want to lose it? Like in the grocery store, you're just like,
Yeah.
all of a sudden get that feeling of him.
Yeah. I feel stronger when I know a part of him will always be with me. And I even said that at his eulogy. There will always the spirit that constitutes who Michael John Rizzo really is will always be with me. I've learned so much from him, not just from his words, his actions. That's how I learned. And that's how people really learn. That's how your children learn from you, that by what you tell them, but by what you do.
Yeah.
And that's how they really learn. So, but there are times when a song comes on, or having a conversation with his, my sister-in-law, or my godchild, who took care of him, and you just on the way home from leaving them, when I see them often, once or twice a week. They live around the corner, and we spend significant time, and it's on the way home where it just hits you, that yes, he'll always be with me, but that want to grab him and hold him thing is no longer there. So, and that's part of it too. But you deal with that. It doesn't last that long. I'm smart enough, and most people should be smart enough to allow your emotions to reveal itself. Most people say, well, I got to be strong. No, that's bullshit. That's what you're doing there, is that you're denying a sacred part of yourself, the healing part of yourself. When something like that happens, feeling it is part of the healing process. Regressing it is making the healing process longer.
Oh, that's a good point.
Yeah.
So when someone says, though, what if people don't accept it? I mean, that goes back to
Well,
the
there
whole,
are those that do.
right. And
Well,
then
yeah.
that just create, and you just think, gosh, at some point you have to
Yep.
embrace the change of them not being there. But how hard? I mean, how difficult is that? Wow.
Oh, yeah. It's something that has to be nurtured for those who have a hard time with it. But there will be a time when it happens.
Yeah.
It's this that some people, it really does take a lot longer.
Yeah.
And, it's sometimes it's something when you go back and you realize all the things that person did, you would be honoring that person by living your life to the fullest without him, because that's what that person would want.
That's so true. And my
Yeah.
mom tells me that all the time, because I'm like, I can't imagine, when you and dad go, I'm going to be so upset. And she always says, Debbie, don't be. It's part of life. And I would never want you mourning me. I want you to celebrate what we have together and all of these things. And I know it'll be more difficult to do than it is to say, but I'm going to give it everything I've got when that day happens. But I want to say, Ken Walls just put something up serious. He's actually being serious right now. And this is so true, though. Here's a change no one can ever control, and everyone is going to have to deal. No matter how rich, smart, or hardworking any of us are, there is no escaping death.
No.
Amen.
No. And I believe our children, our grandchildren need to know from the get-go. You don't have to wallow in it. You don't have to say, but you're going to die someday. You don't do it that way. Hey, that
traumatize the kid,
a wonderful game you played, but you're going to be dead soon. And I just want you to know, you don't do that. Hey kid, I just want you to know something, but kids need to know, because we overprotect children sometimes, parents, and that's a natural instinct. But I think kids need to know that, you know what? Life is wonderful, but you're going to be confronted with some really tough times. Life is very difficult. Mm-hmm. Life is filled with challenges. And once they start understanding that, life becomes easier, because you don't have any preconceived ideas when things start happening to you, that life is pointing a finger directly at you, blaming you, or there's a higher power punishing you for something that you did or didn't do. So we all go through it, and they also need to know that death is a part of life too. Like I said, you don't focus on, you don't like pushing in, but you got to let them know that it's there. And someday mom and dad aren't going to be here, but you'll do fine without us. And that's, that type of thing. But I don't think we do that enough.
You're probably right. I mean, I hate to admit it, but you're probably right.
The smartest thing my nephew Frankie did when he brought his two sons to my brother Michael's funeral, and they're pretty young, and some people didn't know if it was a cool thing, but they saw my brother laid out, and to see these two little kids cry was heart-wrenching. No. Because they were very close to my brother. Man, it's heart-wrenching, but man, they dealt with it so well, and they've asked so many important questions after it. And I think in the long run, it was the healthiest thing. Well,
like you said, though, it's and let's just put it back into the context too of change, because with the education, obviously, that they have given their young children about life and about death, the education that they're giving them to help them through a transition. Yeah. We also, all of us, even me as a grown adult, sometimes something catches me off because I haven't really given it the forethought to think about, like, what happened to me. I mean, it's not a big deal, but it was to me. The difference, me not having the forethought to know I'm raising my kids to go spread their wings. That's what I want. But when all of a sudden they were old enough to go do that, I'm like, oh my God, this feels weird. Like the change of my family dynamics is different. And I'm not prepared myself. I've been preparing them to leave, but I haven't been
Wow.
prepared myself for them to leave, the change that happened within me. And so I should have been having the forethought and educating myself on what I could do for myself too. And just like what you're saying with educate your children, let them know the changes that will occur in life at some point, but it's part of life.
Yeah.
It's not anything bad. It's just really part of life.
Yeah. And life becomes easier once you realize that, people get surprised. And all of a sudden, why did this happen? But if they know that shit happens, and it's not it's not the shit that happens, it's what you do with the shit when it does happen.
I love how eloquently Steve says stuff. And then toward the end of the show, he starts dropping, shit happens. That's all I'm saying. Does everybody understand that?
But then again, once you become 25, 26, 30, 35, I think it's time to leave home.
Yeah.
It's time to go.
Yeah. It's time to change.
I thought I don't know why.
Then we start bringing the wife in, and then the grandkids, all living in a nice 4-bedroom house.
Yeah.
And
it's like, you've made it real comfy staying here, Dad. I think I'm just going to hang out.
That basement that used to be your pool room is now another bedroom.
Yeah. Yeah. It's like that song, changes, turn and face the strain. It is a strain, but it's growth. And there's nothing, that's why we're here, to grow, to live, to learn, to grow, and to become the best person you can be. And it's how you deal with this stuff that life throws at you all the time. Yeah. Bam. All right. This was a good show. I think this was a great show. I thought it was pretty good. Great show. Talking about changing and, stuff like that.
Change. Yeah.
And look at the physical changes that happened to us. I mean, look, I used to have a nice head of hair. What?
Truth.
Yeah.
Yes.
I haven't changed in 30 years.
Yeah. Well,
the only thing he's changed is technology. He went from big.
Although I think I've gotten a little bit lighter here, but other than that,
a little bit lighter. You're trying to tell me 30 years ago your beard was white?
No, it was darker.
We got to get pictures of him, and we'll do it.
Hey, I was born with a goatee.
Yeah, there are pictures of Steve on the internet when he was 20 years ago doing stand-up.
Oh my gosh!
Oh God!
Oh my gosh! Eric says the Dangerfield impersonation is iconic.
Yeah, well, I'll tell you. I got no respect. I went to the doctor and he told me, you got a problem. I said, what is it? He said, you got diabetes. I said, I want a second opinion. He said, okay, you're ugly too.
That's so good. That's so good. I love it. Yeah, it is iconic.
I like when Dangerfield was on Carson. You guys want to laugh? You want to laugh tonight? Just go on YouTube and just look at Rodney Dangerfield on next to Carson. Just one right after another. One of the funniest things he said, and I thought Carson was going to choke. He goes, "So, Rodney, how's your life?" Oh, I'll tell you, man, my life is tough, Johnny. It's tough. My sex life is terrible. He goes, "Well, what do you mean?" He goes, "Well, let's put it this way. It's like shooting pool with a rope."
I've heard that one. That's awesome.
Oh my God! I thought Carson was going to die laughing. But anyway. This was a great show, and let's end it. No more talking.
Well, actually, before we leave, for those who can't get enough of Steve, we have a podcast that gets released every week on Tuesdays. Wherever your favorite podcast is available, just play Steve Rizzo's podcast.
Yeah, that's what you have to do. It's pretty cool. And you could listen to it. And what he did on the audio segments of the podcast, they're not as long as what you're hearing here. You don't see the full show. He edited it to hear the fine points. It's like they're 10-minute segments, right? Something like that. So
actually, the last episode was we had 2 additional guests. We had Bob Donnell. It was co-hosted by Lynn Serrano, and also had Sykes. Rex Sykes. Yeah. So we actually broke that up into 4 segments, and I think segment 2 just launched Tuesday. Segment 3 is on next Tuesday.
Oh, cool.
Perfection.
So you're doing that too? So you're also taking the podcast like this one. You can break this into 2 different segments.
Yep.
Oh.
So yeah. So basically, if we have a great topic, and if the highlights expand more than 10 to 12 minutes, we make 2 shows.
Oh, that's cool. So the last one we did, which was it's not business, it's not personal, it's business. That went over an hour, so you could break that up into a few different ones.
Right. Definitely.
It's amazing how I don't know anything about my own business.
Of course, that won't be appearing as a podcast for another maybe 3 or 4 months.
Yeah, because you have so much other stuff to do.
Yeah, so we have.
A lot
So
of
basically, we're filling in. So basically,
Get your ass moving, will you?
Yep. So again, once again, go to your favorite podcast and type and just say something like, "Hey Siri, play Steve Rizzo's podcast."
Or Alexa. Alexa does it too.
Now playing podcasts.
So Debbie, you were going to say
Hey,
something. What were
I'm
you gonna...
talking here on
I
Apple Podcasts.
laugh because
Who you are is more
say,
important than what you do.
okay, let's end it. No more talking. And
Wait,
Bruce is
he's
like,
doing it.
Everything that you do.
There you go.
Yeah, he
he
just
asked
played it.
Siri and it says,
My phone was listening to me, so I started playing it.
So it came up. That's pretty funny. All
but
right. we
yeah,
will-
so the fact Steve's like, is this even my show? Like I said, we're done talking. And then Bruce is like, actually,
I know. And this is so unprofessional. We always end the show like we're like a bunch 3 shitheads. You know what I mean? Really? And let's end it now. No, okay. But wait a minute. I want to say something too. Okay.
I know it's like this. We
I
should
know.
do hear no evil, see no evil, speak. We're just like the 3
It's like dumb, dumber, and dumbest.
dumb. Oh, I don't want to be dumbest.
No, Bruce is. But
Okay, let's switch him over here.
because I'm not going to be it. So.
There you go. So
And
for more
remember,
information, go to innerbob.
innerbob.com. Go to the innerbob.com website, order the book. And I love you all. Thank you for coming on. And we'll see you
August 10th.
August 10th, where we will have Brian Proctor, who is the son of Bob Proctor, one of the well-known authors of the book The Secret. And he has so many other books out too. So you're going to love this show. He's going to be a great guest. All right, folks. Take care. Enjoy. You guys stay on when the show is over. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.